there everyone, welcome back to another episode of Selenium Express. My name is Abhilash and today we are going to implement the service layer for our application. So as of now we have done a good progress and we have learned a lot of theories and I'm pretty happy with the progress. And right now let's make our application work, okay? So this is the same line I told you a couple of episodes before, but what I can do, right? I kept speaking and the topic went in a different direction because I believe that, giving you an idea on the session and the cookies was pretty important because I do not know who are actually following this particular course. I cannot come to session attribute directly because session attribute, as you have seen in the last episode, that it is a little challenging to understand. So I just wanted to make sure that whoever watching this particular tutorials, we all should be in the same page. That is my goal. Okay. So right now, hopefully you have enjoyed those lessons and right now you are all set to give our application a finishing touch. I mean for today. Okay. So right now let's create the service layer for our application because right now if you see here, if I am going to enter my name here, let's say Abhilash, crush name, let me say Java, and let me hit calculate here. So right now inside our result page, one more thing that we need to do, this calculation that we are doing, this particular thing, right, the result between the user and the crush, this thing we have hard coded. Okay, so we need to write a service for this which can actually take the username and the crush name and it will do some calculation and it will give you a result. Okay, so we'll develop the service for this. And again, if we'll go to the email page, so right here also we can send the result to our email. So let's say I have got a friend as a result. Okay, so my name is Abhilash. I was trying out this particular application and the result that I got from this application is friend. So if I want, I can send this result to my email ID or to my crush email ID or any user's email ID, right? I mean that only. So I can send this result to any user's email ID. Okay. So right now, if we'll go here, so you can enter the email ID of the user that I want to send the email to. So I can say, let's say abhilash@gmail.com. So whatever the result I got, send that result to this particular email ID. And once you click send, right now it is saying, okay, email is successfully sent to abhilash@gmail.com. This is just the UI, but in the back end, you know that we didn't do any kind of coding there. So we need to implement the logic right there to send the email to a specific user. So the intention right here, we need to write a service to send the email to a specific user, right? So this is another thing that we need to do. So two particular services I'm going to write today. The first service is to send the email to a specific email ID by using Spring MVC, or you can implement the same thing in the Spring Boot. The next thing is for this result, the result that we are getting, whatever our calculator predicts, this particular result also, we need to write a logic for that so that, it will calculate the result between the username and the crush name. So pretty nice thing. Hopefully today the job is a little simpler for me because I do not need to talk too much right now because there is no theory right here. Only we just need to implement everything by using Java code. So that's what we love, right? As a developer, we just love coding. So right now let's go ahead and code it. So first thing, what we need to write, we need to write this service, the logic for this thing, or we need to write the logic for the email sending purpose. Okay, let's first write the logic for the email sending purpose, right? So let's use our app to send emails to a specific user, right? That is going to be fun. Then we are going to come back this particular page later, right? So let me get started and let me first show you that how to send emails using Spring MVC. And it is going to be so much fun to do that. Let's get started. Cool. So the first thing that I'm going to do, if I'm going to send the email, okay, whatever the result that I got, if I want to send it to a specific email ID, then first of all, I need to use what? I need to use some kind of API to send emails, right? So what kind of API that I'm going to use right now? So first of all, let me tell you that I am going to use a class called JavaMailSender. Basically, JavaMailSender, I think, is the interface. So the class name is JavaMailSenderImpl. So JavaMailSenderImpl, this is a specific class given by the Spring framework, and using this particular class, you can send emails to users, right? And that is going to be really, really fun. But before I implement, do that every time, guys. Do not just jump into the coding. Coding is always 5 minutes job, but we need to understand that what we need to code, right? So let's first understand the basics. Okay, this is what I want to implement. So what is the thing that I need to implement? Let me tell you that by using a slide right now, and after that I am going to tell you how to code it, right? So first of all, as I said, right, so we are going to use a object called JavaMailSenderImpl. This is a specific class object that we need to create, and this particular object have it has few properties like host, username, password, and port. So what are these things and why we need to set it? Guys, understand like this. Whenever, let's say you want to connect to a database, okay, so hopefully you have done coding in JDBC, right? So when you are connecting to a database, what are the credentials you need? You need which database you need to connect to, okay, just like the URL. You need the username for the database, you need the password for the database, and maybe you need the port for the database, right? Same like that. When you want to connect to a server, a email server, right? So whenever I want to send emails, first of all, I need to decide who is my email provider, okay? There are many providers like Google, okay, Yahoo, or if you want to if you want to create professional emails for your company, you can go for GoDaddy. So you can go to different companies out there who are actually can be your email providers. So right now I'm going to keep it simple right here, and we are going to use Gmail. Okay, let's say if I want to send email, so I'll go to Google, then I'll click on Gmail. So after that, I'll put my username and password, and after that I can log into my account. And once I logged into my account, then I can create an email. I'll write a subject, I'll write the text, I'll write the CC. If I want, I want to add some BCC, and I can put the user email ID inside the to text box, and then I can hit send, and the email will go away. We'll follow the exact same process right now. Let's say I want to use Gmail as my email provider. So if I want to use Gmail, first of all, I need to establish a link between my application and Gmail. So how to configure that? And to configure that only, we are going to use the JavaMailSenderImpl, this particular class object we are going to use. So the JavaMailSender will give you some properties to set, just like that. This particular object has host. The host for us is going to be smtp.gmail.com. So this is going to be our host. You can copy this if you want to use Gmail, but if you want to use something else, let's say Yahoo, or if you want to use GoDaddy, then get the details from the email providers and configure the host, username, password, port accordingly, right? But as we are going to use Gmail right here, this is going to be our host, smtp.gmail.com. The username is, let's say, seleniumexpress@gmail.com. Some email ID I can give right here. And then the password is going to be specific for this particular email ID, from where I'm actually trying to logging in, or to which email actually I'm trying to establish a connection with. And the port number for Gmail is going to be 587. Okay, so we are going to set these properties with the JavaMailSenderImpl object to establish a connection between our server and with our application. Right now, think like, okay, you are logged into Gmail account, you have entered your credential and you are logged into your Gmail account. So the next thing right here we are going to do here is we are going to construct the email. And to construct the email, we can use a particular class here called simple mail message. So we can say simple mail message equal to new simple mail message. And this particular object has a lot of properties, and we can set that just like simple mail message dot set to. And let's say if I want to send my email to this specific user, I can say dot set to, then I can enter his email address just right here. Just like that, I can enter the subject, okay? Let's say mail subject I'm saying for a demo purpose, but you can write anything right here. And I can write again simple mail message dot set text. This is going to be my body, and I can enter whatever I want inside the body. Okay, so I should construct the email by using simple mail message. This is a particular class, and again we are going to use this class to set our properties. So once this particular object is ready, simple mail message, once we set every information to this particular object, let's say to subject text, or if you want to add cc, bcc, whatever you want to add, you can add to this particular thing. And once you are done doing that, we can use this object, because right now this is the object which is actually containing our server information or our email provider's information. So I'll say JavaMailSender dot send, and I can pass this simple mail message inside this particular method parenthesis, and my email is going to be sent. This is as simple as that. So basically we are going to use two different classes here. One is called JavaMailSenderImpl. This is the class. Using this particular class, we are going to set up our email provider's information, and then we are going to use simple mail message, and using this particular class I am going to construct my email, and I'm going to set all the properties of my email that I want to send. And then simply I can say JavaMailSender, which is this object, dot send, and I can just pass this particular object right here to send the email. Now let's implement it inside our love calculator application. Okay, so as I said we'll be needing two different classes. One is called JavaMailSender, and this is a class provided by the Spring framework. And for these we will be needing a jar, right? And the way we are organizing everything right here by using Maven. So I'll go here and I will add a dependency for JavaMailSender. And also apart from the mail API, I am also going to use another API. Why? Let me first add the API right here. So as you can see, I have added these two APIs just right here. Okay, so right now you need to add these two dependency inside your project. So right now I do not think that I should tell you that how to add dependency inside a project. I know you can do it by yourself. So get the mail API from the Maven central repository, and also get the Spring context support. You will be needing this API because we will be constructing the email, right? And we will be needing a class called simple mail message, and that particular class is available inside this particular jar. So just grab these two things from the Maven central repository, and once you add this to dependency, do command S, and right after that do a Maven update, right? So just to make sure our things are on place, and we will do a Maven update project to make sure all our jars are downloaded to our project's workspace, and we are ready to develop our stuffs, right? So hopefully things are looking good right now. Let me stop the server, and we do not need the server right now. So the first thing that we'll be doing right now, we'll be configuring the JavaMailSender object, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'll go to the config class because I want to configure some things. So I'll go to love calculator appconfig.java, and right here I'll create another bean here, right? So let me create a bean right here. Okay, let me minimize this, let me zoom this one, and right now let me say I'll be creating a method here. Let's say configure JavaMailSender. Okay, and this particular method will return me a Java JavaMailSender. Okay, it is going to give me this particular object back. So let me return the interface or name right here, JavaMailSender, and I'll make it a public method, and I'll make it a bin. Okay, so that Spring will take care to create the object for this. And right here, I am going to, first of all, I'm going to create a JavaMailSender object right here. I'll say JavaMailSenderImpl equal to new JavaMailSenderImpl, and I'm going to return this JavaMailSenderImpl instance to get rid of all the error that I'm getting right now. Okay, this is cool. So right now with this instance, I'm going to set few things, as I said. Okay, first of all, I'll say JavaMailSenderImpl dot set host, and my host is going to be a Gmail, so I'll say smtp.gmail.com. make sure you are setting your host name exactly just like this, otherwise it won't work. After this, I'm going to say JavaMailSenderImpl.set username, and here I'm going to set my username. So I have created a test email ID, so let me grab the email ID name. Probably that is Selenium 655 probably @gmail.com. Okay, the next thing that you need to do is you need to set the password. So JavaMailSenderImpl.set password. So let me place my password right here, and after that you can again set JavaMailSenderImpl.set the port number, so set port. Okay, so there you go. And after the port, basically I should be done, right? I should have returned this JavaMailSender instances right here, and this is done. So Spring will automatically call this particular method, and we'll be creating our JavaMailSender instance, and we are just setting all the properties for our email provider. But guys, there are two more properties we need to set here. I have already tried and tested with my previous batch students, and they are actually implementing a feedback form. Okay, but it didn't work because the Gmail security is a little more tight. So we need to make sure we will be adding the TLS and the SSL, the property. We need to add these two properties to our JavaMailSenderImpl instance. With this instance, we'll be adding two more properties. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. You can create a properties object. So properties coming from java.util, and we'll say properties, let's say mail properties equal to new properties. Okay, and then you can say mail properties dot put. Okay, now you can add your properties right here, and once you added all the properties, you can say JavaMailSenderImpl, set JavaMail properties, and you can add the mail properties just right here. Okay, so we need to add two more properties with our JavaMailSender. So the first property name is for the TLS. So you just need to make sure that you will put this particular properties right here called mail.smtp.startTLS.enable, and you will need to make it true. The value for this is going to be true. And the next thing will be mail properties dot put, and again we are going to put another property just like this right here, and this is going to be for the SSL. And for SSL, you need to set this particular property right here called mail.smtp.ssl.trust, and again you need to say to our application that it should trust this particular host. Okay, so let me copy this and let me paste it right here. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are adding these two particular properties with this mail properties instance, and once you are done adding these two things to this particular instance, you can set this instance with our JavaMailSenderImpl object, right? And then we are done right now, and basically I can do a command shift F. I can do a command shift F to format this piece of code, and I am basically done, right? So there you go. So right now our application is configured with the instance called JavaMailSender, and right now this JavaMailSender will establish the connection with our Gmail with all these properties that we have set. Okay, so right now this particular method is looking cute. Okay, let me change this configure to get JavaMailSender or something. Get JavaMailSender. This makes more sense. Okay, so right now this looks good. So now let's go ahead and let's use this particular JavaMailSender to send emails. But as we are using Gmail as our email provider, Gmail is pretty secure, isn't it? So what Gmail want to say, if you want to use Gmail or if you want to configure Gmail with your application, then you need to turn on the less secure app feature inside the Gmail app. So if you do not activate the Gmail's less secure app feature, then you are not going to use this particular service. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to create a new incognito window. Okay, and right here log into your Gmail account. Okay, so to turn on the less secure app feature, what you need to do, first of all, you need to log into your Gmail account, then go to Google, okay, and then you can start typing less secure app. Okay, and once you hit less secure app, click on the first link, less secure app, this particular link. Then if you are already logged into your account, the Gmail account, it will directly redirect you to that particular page. And here you can see allow less secure apps on or off. So make sure you have enabled this feature, otherwise you will not able to send emails using STS or something, because it's a different app, right? So right now, once you are done doing that, once you turn on the less secure app feature from your Gmail account, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to implement the service inside our application. And basically, if I'll go to the email controller, this is basically showing me the send email page. If I'll come to this particular page, this is the send email page, right? And right here I need to enter the email, and once I hit send, it is basically going to the process email page, right? So what we need to do right now, we need to basically send the email. Okay, if we need to send the email, we will be needing the email ID. From where we'll be getting the email ID? From here we'll be getting the email ID, because whenever the user is going to enter the email ID and he is going to hit send, the request will come to this particular controller. And here we are actually capturing our email ID, our user's email ID from this DTO, right? So we have this user email, this particular thing right here, right? This particular property will carry the data. So I can do what? I can create a method here, just like something like send email. And inside the send email, two things I need to send. First thing is I need to send the email address. So the email address I'll be getting from the email DTO. So I'll say email DTO dot get user email. So this will give me the email, and also I will be needing the result. Now we are going to calculate the result later, but for now let me say result is friend or something just like this, FRIEND. But this thing we are going to fetch dynamically, and we are going to send dynamic data right here. But for now, let me hardcode it to friend. So right now we can start writing the implementation for this particular method, right? Send email. So tell me one thing, do you want me to create this particular method right here? Let's say create method. So what it is basically going to do, it is going to create a method inside the controller class. But is it good to create this kind of method? Okay, this method is going to do some work. What kind of work it is going to do? Here we are going to write some logic, and we are going to make this particular method to send email. Okay, so this particular method is basically going to do some work, right? It is basically a service that we will be writing. So it is not a good practice to write your service related code and your controller related code inside one particular class. So what we can do right now, we can create a different class which will be specifically, where we'll be specifically writing the code related to the email sending stuff, right? So what I'm going to do right now, I am going to develop an interface called, let's say, email service. I can say LC app email service just to this will make more sense whenever somebody is going to read it. And I'm going to say LC app email service dot send email. Okay. LC app email service dot send email. Okay, but we do not have a LC app email service interface right now. So let me create a new interface right here. So this is going to be my I'm going to make sure I'll create a service layer for this. So let me create a new package here. So I'm going to place this interface inside com.seleniumexpress.lc.service. Okay, so inside this service I will be creating this particular interface. Okay, and right here I will give the method signature. So let me copy this send email. Okay, and let me paste the send email inside this interface, and right here I'm going to say first I'm sending the user email. So let me say string user email. Okay, and then the friend is the result, right? Let me say string result. Okay, this should be my method signature, and this particular method returns, let's say, nothing. So there you go. Okay, so right now I am going to create a class. Okay, so let me create a class which is going to implement this particular interface, and I'm going to give the implementation for this method. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to do right click, new class, and let me say LC app email service IMPL. Okay, because this is the implementation for the interface. Let me add the interface name here, LC app email service. This is the interface name. Let me hit OK. Right now let me hit finish here. Okay, so right now it is going to create me a class, and right here I am going to implement the send email method here. That's great. So right now it is giving me an error right here. It is saying what? Why it is giving me an error? Remove override annotation. Why? Because I have not saved it. That's why. Command S to save. Okay, the error gone from here. Right now let me write the logic for this particular method. Okay, so right now what I need to create the email right now. Okay, so to create the email, first of all, as I said you, I will be needing a class called simple. The class name will be simple mail message, and right here I'll say simple mail message new email. Okay, equal to new simple mail message. Okay, then I'll say new email dot set to, and right here you can give a email address of the user. So basically we will not hard code it, we will get it from the user. So user has entered this particular email, right? So I'll say user email. Okay, so there you go. So we have set to whom we want to send the email. Obviously whatever the user is entering, whatever the email ID the user is entering, we are going to send the email to him. The next thing we are going to do, new email dot set subject. Okay, the subject, let's say love calculator application result. Okay, once we set the subject, we will say new email, and we'll set the text, which is going to be our body. Okay, Okay, so here we'll say hi, and we'll say hi and then the username. What is the username? If you remember previously, somewhere inside the LC app controllers we are storing the user info object. Okay, from this object basically I can get my username, right? Because the user info, if you see here, this user info is basically storing the user info DTO, and inside the user info DTO we have the username. So let me grab the username from my session, because we are right now storing this user info to my session attribute. So let me go here, and inside this, let's say inside this particular method I want the username as well. So let me go to the controller class. So I'll be calling this particular method from where? I'll be calling this particular method from my controller, right? So right here, what I can do, I can also send the username. Okay, let me say, so username I can say here. So what is going to be my username? So how I can get the username right here? So I can use session attribute annotation right here. So I can say @session attribute, and I want to get the attribute from the session. What is my session attribute name? If I'll go to LC app controller, I can copy this, okay, and I can come to my email controller, and right here I can do Command V, and I will grab this object right now. I'll say user info DTO, and DTO I'll say user info DTO. Okay, there you go. Let me break this line right here. Okay, and right here the username I can send like user info DTO dot username, get username. Okay, so I'll be getting the username, but right now send email is giving me an error because we need to change the, if I'll go to LC app email service, which is the interface, right here we need to add one more arguments here. Let's say string username. Okay, and right here inside the email service also I'm going to override this one. Let's say string username. Okay, and I am actually getting the username because from here I'll be calling it, right? So right now, why it is still giving me an error? It is saying change the send email method to static. That's because I'm directly trying to call this particular method from LC app email service. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to remove this. Okay, I am going to remove this from here, and temporarily for now the way I'm going to call it is, let's say I am creating which is my service class. This is LC app email service IMPL, right? So let me go to that controller and let me say new LC app email service IMPL and dot, right, just to get rid of that error. Okay, so hopefully right now this makes sense. We are sending three things right now: username, email ID, and the result. Cool. So right now let me go back to the LC app email service class. So here I'll be getting the username also. So I'll say hi, and I'll say username. Okay, then again plus, I will just give a space here after the username. The result predicted by the LC app is, and I can do plus, and I can concatenate this result right here. So I'll say result here. Okay, and there you go. There you go. Okay, cool. So right now this method is ready, right? So right now basically we are done with the coding. So we have just created a send email method right now, and we are actually calling this particular method right here inside the email controller. So right now just look at line number 32. Okay, just look at line number 32 right here. The way I am calling the send email method right here is not that efficient because we are using Spring framework and we will not be creating the object right here. And we do not want to create objects just like this by using the new keyword. Rather, we will give the opportunity to Spring to create the objects. Right now, if I want to tell Spring that, hey, create the LC app email service IMPL class object by yourself, the way I should instruct Spring to create the object of this particular class, that is by using an annotation right here called component, right? But right now I'm not going to use component. Why? Because I am inside a service class. So just to make it understandable that this is a service class, so what I can do, I can rather use an annotation right here called add service. Okay, so add service is basically same as add component. Okay, but as this is my service class, so I can mark this class with an annotation called add service. Okay, the add service annotation is basically extending to the add component annotation. So do not worry, add service is just going to do the same work as add component. So right now what I can do, I can go to my email controller, and right here, instead of calling the method, the send email method just like this, what I can do here, I can create the LC app service IMPL email service IMPL object just right here. Let's say LC app email service, and let me mark this variable as private, and I will just auto-word it. Okay, there you go, auto-word. So right now what is going to happen is the Spring is basically going to create the object for this because there is a add service annotation. So during the component scanning, Spring is going to register this particular class with the container, and it is going to create the object for this. So right here inside the controller, so I'm just creating the reference here for LC app email service, and I'm making it auto-where so that Spring can inject that object to this particular variable. And right now I can use this variable LC app email service. So I can say LC app email service dot send email to call that particular method. And inside this particular method, what I'm going to do here, actually, I'm just constructing the simple mail message. I'm setting the to subject and text. I'm in the body. And one last thing I need to do here is that I need to actually send this email. Okay. And to send this email, I will be needing the instance of JavaMailSender. Okay. So where I have configured the JavaMailSender. So if I'll go to love calculator app config class, here inside the app config class, I have actually created the JavaMailSender instance, right? So what I'm going to do here right now, I'll go to my service class, and right here I will create an instance of JavaMailSender. So I'll say JavaMailSender. Let me say JavaMailSenderImpl. Then again, let me say JavaMailSenderImpl. Okay, and let me make it a private variable. And right here, let me annotate this with add auto-word, right? So I have already created the instance right there in my config class. And right here, as I'm using add bean, Spring is going to create the object and maintain this object inside the container. I am just fetching this object right here inside my service class, and I'm making it auto-where so that Spring will inject the mail sender object just to this. And right now I can just say JavaMailSenderImpl dot send, and I'm going to say new email. Okay, and there you go, you are done. So let me do Command A, Control Shift F to format my code, and Control Shift O to remove all these unnecessary imports, and I am done with my email service integration with my application, right? So how simple the process is. So we have not done so much of coding right here. So the only thing we did here, we have created or we have configured the JavaMailSender instance right here inside my config class. Then again, I have created a new service right here called Java email service. So this is going to be our email sending API for our application, and we are going to keep all our email sending purpose methods just right here. And right here inside the LC app email service IMPL, whatever the methods that I have here, all those methods I'm overriding and giving it a implementation. And once I am completed giving the implementation right here from the email controller, from here actually from the line number 36, I am actually calling the send email method, right? By passing all these necessary arguments. So if I'll go to the send email, this is the same method that I have developed just right now. All right, so right now let me go ahead and let me test my application. So let me go to the browser and let me close all other tabs. Okay, let me say close others because there are so many tabs here. And right now let me start my application. Okay, so my server is right now started. So I'll go to the root URL first. Okay, so I'll go here and it is giving me an error. It is saying unsatisfied dependency injection. And I'm getting a unsatisfied dependency for email controller, and it is saying that unsatisfied dependency expressed through the field LC app email service. Okay, so it is saying that error creating the bean with the name called LC app email service IMPL. Okay, so inside our LC app email service IMPL, there is a unsatisfied dependency expressed through JavaMailSenderImpl. Okay, so I believe that it is not finding any bean for JavaMailSenderImpl. So what I'm going to do right now, I will go to my service class again. So where is my service class? LC app email service. It is not able to inject the object for this. That's why actually it is keep giving me an exception called unsatisfied dependency exception. So what is the problem? So let me again see the error message just right here. So it is saying initialization failed, error creating the bean name with the email controller, because inside the email controller only we are trying to call the send email, right? So LC app email service, okay, we are creating the object for our service, and inside this service, if I'll go here inside this service, I have this object, right? JavaMailSenderImpl, which is not actually getting initialized. Cool. So what I'm going to do right now, let me check this. Let me go to my config class. Okay, I'll go to my app config class. And right here, I'll go to my get JavaMailSender. Okay, so basically I'm returning a JavaMailSender. So if I'll go to my LC app email service IMPL, right here I have written JavaMailSenderImpl. So let me change it to JavaMailSender, okay, to this particular instance, and let me hit Command Shift O to fix the import. Okay, let me do Command S and let me see whether this thing fixed my issue. So initializing the dispatcher, reloading and completed. So let me go to the root page right now. Let me hit the URL again and boom, right, it worked. So the reason why I have given you a walkthrough with this error is you could understand that the unsatisfied dependency exception could come from anywhere. See, we have a problem here inside this class, LC app email service class. Inside this class, we have the JavaMailSender. But it is giving me the error from this class. It is saying the email controller is not getting initialized. Why this is not getting initialized? Because we have the LC app email service IMPL. We have this particular class dependency here. And inside this particular class, this class is not getting initialized. Why? Because we have a dependency here, right? Actually, this particular object is not getting initialized, but as this particular object has a dependency with this particular class, and again, this particular class is a dependency inside our email controller, so our email controller is not getting initialized, right? Hopefully it makes sense right now. Okay, so let me go to my homepage right now, and let me hit my your name, let's say Abhilash, and let me hit the cross name, let's say Java. And let me click this box, hit calculate button right here. Let me go to the send result page and let me give my email ID. Let's say Selenium Express @ okay, I need to delete a space here, @gmail.com. Okay, and let me hit send. So right now let's see whether I'm able to send the email or I'm getting any exception right here. So finger crossed, it is taking time. So hopefully there is a delay with the response, but I have already clicked the send button, I believe. So let me see when I will be getting a response back. Okay, so I believe that I'm connected to internet. Cool. So let me wait till I get a response back. Okay, so we are getting a timed out error right now. Okay, but I am connected to internet, I believe. So what is the exception we are getting? So it is saying is 3-1 exception. It's saying a no mail sender exception, mail server connection failed, nested exception, could not connect to the SMTP host smtp.gmail.com. It is saying that it is not able to connect to Gmail. I do not know why. I do not know why it is getting timed out. I am already connected to internet. So hopefully I have written everything correct here. Okay, there you go. I have messed up with the port number, so it should be 587. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me do command save and let me start my application again. So that's why it is not able to connect it with my server, and it is throwing me an exception that it is still trying to connect to the server, but it is getting timed out because the port number is wrong. So right now, let me see either I'm getting connected with my email server or not. Okay, so now let me test this application. Let me say username Avilash, cross name something. I'll hit this particular box and I'll hit calculate, and I'll go to send result to email, and here I will enter an email, Selenium Express @gmail.com. Let's see whether I'll be able to send the email or not this time. Hopefully my server information is correct, and well, there you go. Email successfully sent to Selenium Express @gmail.com. Have I written .com or not? Oh, oops, I should have written .com here. Okay, so it didn't validated the email, so obviously that email will be bounced back right now. Okay, right now the email sent to the correct Gmail address. Right now, let me see whether I'm getting an email to my email account Selenium Express @gmail.com. So let me wait for a while till I get the email, and there you go. You can see I got an email already, and it is saying, hi Abhilash, the result predicted by the LC app is friend. So there you go. Congratulations. We have successfully integrated the email service with our application right now. Okay, so welcome to another section of this particular video, and right now I'm going to tell you some best practices. So whenever you're going to work in a project or whenever you're going to work in your companies, you are going to see this kind of code a lot. Okay, so right now I'm going to keep this thing separate. So if you want to continue with your development process, then you can skip to the time that you are going to see right now on your screen. So feel free to skip to the time if you are in a hurry and if you want to just complete the project and if you want to go away. But if you want to learn, if you want to learn some new things, if you want to know how to code better, then stay with me and proceed with me with the best practices section. You know what I mean. Stay here and listen to me. Do not go there right now. Anyhow, you are going to complete your course today and in this particular session. So be a little more patient because we are going to talk some good thing right now. So as you can see right now, we have a kind of different project here because I want to keep these things separate. So these are basically a bunch of your classes, but I am only going to use this particular class, love calculator app config. So the best practice number one, let me go to my method called JavaMailSender. This is the method that you have developed in the last session. Okay, so right now let's improve this particular method, right? The first question here is that right now I am using here smtp.gmail.com as my host. Let's say tomorrow my company changes the requirement and they wanted me to use yahoo.com or godaddy.com as their email provider. So what I need to do? I need to come here to this particular class called love calculator app config, and right here inside this app config class I am going to change the code of this particular method, and I'm going to update these things as per my new email provider, which is really bad. We do not need to hard code these things, right? Rather, we are going to keep these things separate in a properties file, and we are going to load these particular things, the password, the host, the port number, everything from a properties file. So I have basically created a new properties file here called email.properties, a very simple properties file here. You can see there are some key value pair. This is the key mail.host, and there goes my properties name. And just like that, my username, my key is mail.username. You can give any key right here, but to be consistent, I am just using mail.username, mail.password, mail.port number, and these are the values for my key. Cool. So right now the question is, if I'm going to put all these things in a properties file, my email provider information, then I need to load this information right here inside my love calculator app config class. Inside this particular method, instead of hard coding these things, I am going to load it from the properties file. So whenever I'll have a new email provider coming in, I am going to go to my email.properties file, and here only I will change the detail so that I do not need to touch my code right here. Let's say I have changed my email provider to GoDaddy, then I do not need to write the GoDaddy host right here. Rather, I can just go to my email.properties and I'll update the host right here, and my program will dynamically fetch it right here. So how to do that? So the straightaway question is how to load the properties file inside our Spring MVC program, inside our Spring MVC classes. And I have already told you an approach in my Spring core videos, but right now I'm going to introduce a new method. Okay, so to load the properties from a property file, we are going to use a class here called environment. I'm not going to go very detailed into that, but it is very simple. The first thing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a variable here of a interface called environment. Oops, the spelling is wrong. Environment. There we go. So you need to use this interface coming from org.springframework.core.env. Okay, and right now I am giving it a reference called env, and I'm going to make it a private variable, and I am going to give it an annotation called AutoWhere, right? So basically what is going to happen is the Spring is going to inject the environment object to my env variable. So basically this env is going to be injected, this particular env object will be injected by Spring automatically, so you do not need to be worried about that. So right now we need to use this env to load the properties from our property file. For an example, let's say right here, instead of saying smtp.gmail.com, we are going to load this value. Let me write a system.out.println right here, just to make sure, just to check whether I'm able to load the properties value using the environment class. So I'm going to use this env reference here, and I'm going to say get property. You can see it is going to take a key, which is a string, and it is going to give back the value, okay, which is going to be in string format. So I'm going to use this method env.getProperty. So env, if I do control click, this is the reference that we have created right now. And right now using this env, I'm going to look for a key. Let's say I'm going to look for this key mail.host. Okay, let me copy this. Let me come here. Let me paste it right here. And this line should give me the mail.host value, which is going to be smtp.gmail.com or whatever I have written here. So let me do Command S right now. So let me see whether I'm able to log this particular line on my console. And if I can, I'm going to replace all this hard-coded value here. I'm going to fetch it from the properties file then by using the env reference. So let me check right here. First of all, this is working or not. So let me go here and let me start my server and let me wait till my server deploy my project. Okay, so my project is started right now. So if I'll go here and if I'm going to check my log, if I'll go to my console, you can see it is giving me null right now. Okay, so why we are getting null right here and why we are failed to retrieve the properties or the value for this particular key called mail.host. That's basically we are trying to paste the value for this particular key, but we are not telling Spring that from which property file we are looking this particular value. Okay, from which particular properties file we are trying to fetch the value for mail.host. We are not telling here to Spring. So if you see here, this email.properties is there inside the resources folder. So basically what we need to do here, we need to go to our configuration class, just right here, the love calculator of config, and right now we need to tell Spring that, hey, we are going to use the properties file right here. So we need to look for the property source. Okay, so property source, you can see this, the first one right here. I'm going to use this annotation, and right here using this annotation, I'm going to load my email.properties file. So first of all, this particular file is there in my class path. So let me say class path colon, and right here my file name is email.properties. So let me write here called email.properties. Cool. So let me do command S right now and let me go here to my console again. Let me see whether my server is reloading my changes or not, and if yes, then I am getting my value for my property key mail.host just right here or not. And as you can see, there is a pretty sweet line here called smtp.gmail.com. This is basically what we are looking for because we are trying to fetch the value for mail.host and we are successfully able to fetch it from my properties. From my properties file, this is the value for the mail.host, smtp.gmail.com. Cool. So right now we can go ahead and right now what we can do, we can go to our love calculator of config.java class and all these properties right now we are going to load it from our properties file just like this. Let me copy this. This is going to be my host. Okay. And just like this for the email, what I'm going to do env dot get property and I'm going to give the key for this. For the email, the key is mail.username. Let me copy this, come here and paste it right here. And similarly for the password, again let me do env.getProperty and right here again let me give the key for the password. Okay, so right now I'm going to give you a task. Let's right now load the port number. Okay, so the port number we are hard coding here 587 and right here the port number here we have written 587. So let me stop the server for a moment. And right now if I'll come here to love calculator of config, this set port number is going to take an integer. Okay, it's taking an int. So basically right now let me try the same thing, env.getProperty, but here the get property is going to give you a string back. So let me write env.getProperty and my port number, the key here is mail.port. Let me copy this. Let me come here and let me paste it again right here. Cool. So right now we are getting an error because right now this set port right now is going to take an integer. So there is no way we can pass a string to the argument of set port because this get property is going to basically give us a string back, right? You can see the return type here for this method get property is string. So basically we need to convert this string to an integer and you need to tell me how to do that. So we have a string and we need to convert it to integer. So how we're going to do it? Think. Hopefully you got an answer, and the answer here is basically we are going to use integer.parseInt. So I'll say integer.parseInt. And this is basically going to take a string. So I'm going to put all this value right here inside the method argument of integer.parseInt and I am done. And that's the way you need to load all these properties from your properties file. Okay, so right now let's have a look on the line number 86. We can basically improve this particular line more. We can make it more readable. So if you're going to see in your real-time application for this kind of stuff, they will make it more readable by creating some more method. So as you can see right now, we are going to do integer.parseInt. Then basically inside the parseInt method, we are going to say environment.getProperty, and we are going to pass in the key. And let's say in this particular method, if I have 3 or 4 more properties which are basically number, let's say if I will have 4 more properties or 5 more properties just like this, which is going to basically going to be the number. So for all those properties, I need to write integer.parseInt. Then again, I'm going to pass the env.getProperty with a valid key inside the parseInt method. So basically, I have to keep converting this kind of values to integer by writing integer.parseInt. So why not we will create a method here, a helper method, which is going to help us to convert a string to integer. So basically what we can do, let me stretch it out a little. We can write a method here. Let's say get int property. Let me create a new method. And the job of this particular method will be, it is going to convert a string to an integer. So I am going to give a string here. So let me say string key, give this particular method a key, and this particular method is going to return you an integer. And that's what we need. So basically right here, we should not, let me do command S, we should not say integer.parseInt.env.getProperty. Simply what we can do, we can copy this mail.port. We want to convert this mail.port value to an integer value. So let me remove all this line here and let me call this get in property right here. So let me say get in property. There we go. And pass in the key, command V. Okay, and there you go. So right now this get in property method, we are going to design and we are going to take a string as a key and we are going to convert this to a integer. Okay, so basically what we need to do here, we can say env dot get property, and the key is going to be this one, whatever the user is sending. Right here the key is going to be mail.port for this method. So we'll be getting mail.port right here, and this is the key that we are going to accept. And we are going to do what? Let me do command 1, and we are going to assign this to a new variable. So it is going to say string property, and right now right here I'm going to return this, return integer dot parseInt, and I'm going to pass in my property, and there you go, right? So basically we have created a helper method right now, and this method is going to help us to convert a string property to an integer. Okay, so just right here, right now you can see the error is gone and my code is pretty readable. So right here in this particular program, if I'll be needing any more other property like mail.port, if I will have this particular key which will going to return me an integer, then I can use this get in property method right now, which can basically reusable and we can use it again and again. Okay. Alright, so we have done a very good job so far, and we know that how to load the properties value from a property file by using the environment interface of Spring Framework. Okay, so right now our method is looking pretty good and we are doing a pretty awesome job. So congratulations. But can we improve this particular method a little more? And obviously, yes. The answer is yes. So how we are going to do it? And to do that, basically, look at the code right here. We have from the line number 88 till the line number 90. So basically, we can improve the readability of this particular method a little more by keeping these lines inside a different method. Okay, basically what we are doing here, we are creating a properties class object. This properties class object is basically help us to add a bunch of properties together, and you can see this class is coming from java.util, and basically right here we are putting two different properties to this particular object, and once we are done, we are passing this object inside the parameter of set JavaMail properties coming from the JavaMailSender object. So basically, let's say we have 10 or 15 properties just like this. We cannot put all these properties right here, right? Because this method is just going to give us the JavaMailSender object. So basically, if somebody is going to come here and going to check this particular code, let's say if I have 100 properties. So if I have 100 lines of code just like this, he is just going to be get mad what this guy is doing here and why he is actually doing it. Right now, I told you that we will be needing these two properties set in order to use the Gmail functionality inside our application. But let's say if I am not going to tell you that, then straight away, if you are going to see this particular method, if you are going to see this, your primary intention will be, okay, get JavaMailSender. This is the method name. That means this particular method is going to give me the JavaMailSenderImpl object. Then what is the thing that I'm doing right here? Why actually I'm doing it? So basically, I can keep these things separate. Okay, I can create a new method, and that method is going to return me the properties object, and inside this particular method I am going to set whatever the properties that I want to set. Okay, so let me create a new method, or without creating a new method, basically I have 3 lines of code right here. I'm going to move these 3 lines of code into a new method. So without writing it by myself, I can go to Eclipse, I can go to refactor, and I can say extract method, and I can click here, and right here the method name I'm going to give as get mail property, and you're going to see some magic here. Eclipse is going to create this method for you. This is going to return a properties object, and the method name is going to be this. And if I'm going to say okay, see here what happened. So Eclipse has created a new method for you. It is actually returning the properties object, and right here basically we have moved the 3 lines of code that we have written there to here. So basically we are creating the mail properties object, and we are returning the mail properties object. So right now we can use this particular method right here. So Eclipse has done a very good job. It is the saying get mail property and fetching the object right here for the mail properties and passing it right here. So basically, if we want to simplify, we can also do this. I can remove this particular line of code, and I can do what JavaMailSender dot set JavaMail properties, and I can basically call this particular method right here. This is a non-static method, right? And this non-static method I can call directly right here, get mail property, and there you go. Okay, this method I can call directly right here because this is a non-static method. You can see there is no static keyword before this, and this is also a non-static method. There is no static keyword before this, so I can directly call this particular method right here, isn't it? Okay, some toffee like concept. I don't think I need to teach you, but yeah, this is a very good coding practice. You may think, okay, what you have done so far, Avilas? You have created 2 more new methods. This is a very small thing. Why you are telling me that? But yeah, this is a good practice. This is a very small thing, I know, but yeah, that's how the thing works in a real-time project. We do not need to dump everything inside a single method. Rather, we can create a method with small functionality, and we can do stuffs like this right here to make our method more readable, just like this. So see, this particular method is looking so sweet right now. Somebody if is going to read this particular method, okay, so he is setting the host, he is setting the username, he is setting the password, port number, and some mail properties. And if somebody is really interested what kind of properties the developer is setting right here, then he can click here and he can read the content inside this particular method. So that's how we can write more readable methods so that it will be easier for other developer who is going to read our code. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. Okay, it's time for another best practice. Look at the line number 81 right here. Okay, so basically, I'm doing system.out.println, and basically, I was trying to log the mail.host just right now, just to make sure, just to get some satisfaction that, well, my things are working fine. Well, in your real-time project, whenever you have to log something, do not write the system.out.println, and do not tell anybody that the guy from Selenium Express told me to write system.out.println in every classes inside every method. You know what? They are going to tell you that your teacher is really bad. Okay, because we should not write system.out.println. This is really bad. Instead, we should use logger. Okay, basically, I'll tell you how to use logger in the following videos or with a new course. But right now, as of now, what you can do inside your project, whenever you need to log something or whenever you need to print something, please go ahead and create a logger instance. So there are various ways you can implement logger inside your application, but I'm going to tell you a very simple way to do it. So you can use a class called logger coming from java.util.logging. Okay, you can use this class. This particular class is going to help us if we want to print something inside our log. So instead of using system.out.println, we can use this class to print something to our log. Okay, basically this is another concept. Let's keep it simple and let me show you how to basically log things by using the logger class coming from java.util. Okay, this class is coming from java.util. Okay, so logger, I'll say logger is equal to logger dot get logger. So basically this is the way you can create a logger instance by using the get logger method. Okay, this get logger is going to give you a logger object. So right now, what is the name of your class? The class name is love calculator app config. Let me copy this. Let me paste it right here. Okay, let me write dot class, and how to know what is the name of this particular class? I can do get name. Okay, this is going to give me a string back, basically my class name back. Okay, this particular line is going to tell me what is the name of my particular class. Basically this is going to give me the output as love calculator app config. Okay, and there you go. This is how you need to create a logger instance. Okay, so right now what you can do, you can take this logger instance. Let me copy this and let me come here all the way to down. And right now, instead of saying system.out.println, you can log things just like this. You can say logger dot info. Okay, and you can print your message right now. Let's say fetching the host value. Okay, and basically you can do plus here, and you can copy this line, command C, and you can do command V right now, right here, and that's how you are going to print your values to your log. Okay, so right now basically let me comment this particular line and let me print the mail.host value by using a logger. Okay, coming from the java.util class. So let me do command S, and right now let me start the server. And before I start the server, let me do something. Let me give some special notation so that we can see this particular line right here inside a console without wasting more time finding for that particular line. Okay, so let my server get started, and you can see a log here inside the console. Right here you can see it's a info fetching the host name. The value is smtp.gmail.com. basically we are printing some information whenever our server is getting started, and that's how you can log your values by using the logger class. Okay, if I do click here, that's how we have created the logger. So this is a good practice. Use this from now whenever you are building a project or whenever you are working with a real-time project. Always use logger to print your information. Okay, so before I move ahead, you might have a question that, okay, Avilash, what about if I want to use this particular logger inside a different class? Okay, inside a controller class if I want to log something. Pretty simple, copy this particular line, go to any of your controller class. I do not know if I have some controller classes here. Well, I have one. let's say if I want to log something inside this first controller, then I'll come here, I'll do command V, I will change the first controller, I will change this log calculator of config to first controller.class.getName, and there we go. Take this logger, this particular, instance, and wherever you need this, use this just right here inside a method logger.info, and you can add any message right here inside your handler mapping methods or inside any kind of method if you want to do some operation. Okay, pretty straightforward. I hope you understand this, how to use a logger. This is a pretty important concept. You can learn more about the logger by doing some research, or I'll just make a new course about the logger explaining everything about the logger. Okay, and there are different ways to implement logger inside your application. I'm going to keep those things to a different course. Okay. Okay, so before I move to the new section, well, you might ask me one more question: how to load multiple property sources. Okay, basically, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different properties file, how can you load them? Basically, you can do same thing, do command V again, and change the file to a different name, right? Let's say XYZ properties file. Okay, so that's how you can load multiple properties file if you have a need inside your app config or inside your application. And also there is another way. You can see there is a annotation here called add property sources. This one, by using property sources, add property sources, you can basically pass in an array of property sources. Okay, basically you can copy these two things, command X, and you can put it right here, and basically you can wrap this off inside an array, and there you go, it's done, right? So this is the syntax. If I'll do command shift F, this is going to format this thing. Let me put a comma here, and I can break this to 2 different lines just like this, just to make it look easy. So you can use add property sources also if you have multiple properties file, and you can place all your properties file just like this, using this particular annotation called add property sources, and this is going to take an array of property source. So hopefully this makes sense how to load multiple properties file into your application. Alright, so right now I'm going to tell you another best practice, and this is going to be really crucial. So I have basically 2 different screenshots here. Screenshot number 1. So basically this is my process email method, and this method, I have it inside my email controller. So think like we have a controller class. My controller class name is email controller, and inside the email controller I have this handler method, okay, process email. And similarly I have a service class. Okay, so basically this is my service class where I have created a send email method. Okay, and this send email method is helping me to send emails. Okay, I'm basically creating some mails here, and by using the JavaMailSender object I am sending that mail by passing in the new email instance of simple mail message, whatever. I'm basically sending email by using this send email method. So right now this send email method I am calling where? I'm calling this particular method right here inside my controller class. You know that this particular method is there inside my controller class, and I am using lc app email service, which is basically the object of this particular class, and basically I'm calling the send email method from my controller class. So right here, one wrong thing that I have done is I have not handled the exception. You can see this send email method, which is basically this particular method, which is basically this method. This method can throw exception whenever the send method is going to fail due to some internet failure, due to some port number mismatch, due to some host mismatch, or if we have done any kind of silly mistake, the send method is going to throw exception. and we have not handled the exception here. So make sure whenever you are calling any service method, this send email is basically, you can see the send email is there inside our service class, isn't it? So basically whenever we are calling any service method, just like the send email right here, from our controller, we basically need to wrap this off with a try and catch block. So don't forget to write a try and catch block whenever, just like try and catch, you can write exception E and just log the exception system.out.println, or you can use logger and just print the exception right here. So make sure you have to put this line wherever you are calling the service, whenever you are having a service call, or whenever you are having a backend call, or whenever you are having a DB call, there is a chance that you are going to get an exception. So make sure to put those lines inside a try and catch block. So basically you can write try, then this particular line, then catch block just like this, and then once the catch block ends, you can write this return statement. Okay, so make sure to handle the exception whenever you are having a service call, whenever you are having a DB call, or whenever you are having any kind of backend call. And if you do not handle the exception, your program is going to crash, your application is going to crash, your end user is going to suffer, your end user is going to see a lot of exception, a lot of error messages in their screen, which is really not good. And as a developer, you should focus on handling the exception and keeping your risky code inside the try and catch block. Hopefully, this makes sense. Okay, so right now let's talk about another best practice. Okay, so basically we have implemented it already. So let me go to which is my controller, email controller, right? Right here, actually I'm calling here only. I'm calling the send email method, right? Here only I'm calling the send email method. Okay, from this particular service only, which is my LC app email service IMPL, I have this particular method and I'm calling it. Okay, so the way we have coded this particular method, okay, this is actually a very good coding practice. Okay, because I have seen a lot of people send unnecessary DTO to the handling method. Okay, what I mean by that, so right now you can see when I'm calling the send email method, okay, if I'll go to the send email method, actually, if I'll go to the structure of this, let me go to LC app email service, see how we have coded this send email method. So we know that we are being very specific with this particular method. We need your username, we need your email, and we also need the result. Okay, so some people do what? They do not design methods just like this. They will design just like this. I'll tell you how. Okay, this is right. Okay, this is the right way of doing things. What is the wrong way? Let's say void send email. Okay, so right now they'll do what? They will think, from where I'll get the username. Okay, this username is there inside which DTO? This is inside the user info DTO, right? Inside the user info DTO, I have the username. So they will do what? They will send the entire DTO. They will do like this: user info DTO, user info DTO, comma. Okay. Then what I need? I need the user email. Where is the user email? The user email is inside the email DTO. So they will do what? Right now we have only one property inside this particular DTO. But what if I have 100 properties inside this particular DTO, right? They will not care for this. They will just code like this. They will do what? User info, sorry, what is that? Email DTO, right? Email DTO. So right now email DTO, right? And then they will say, let's say result is a string. No problem. I'll say string result. Okay. So guys, the problem with this kind of methods, we should not accept the complete DTO. Let's say we need only the username. Then ask the user only to enter the username. Whenever the user will be calling our send email method, at that time they will be fetching the username from the DTO. The way we have done it just right here. Inside the email controller, here the user is using the send email method, and right now he is only fetching the username during the time when he's actually calling the method, right? When he is using our send email method, he is getting the username first and then putting it inside the argument. He is getting the user email first from the email DTO, and then he is only doing the filtering and then sending the correct data to the method he is calling, in our case the send email method. But if we are going to write method like this, if we are going to accept the complete object, then inside this particular method only, inside the send email method only, we are going to filter the thing, which is not good for performance. Okay, I remember being a fresher, I did commit the same mistake, right? Whenever I used to write this kind of method, I used to accept the complete DTO. I never think, okay, that DTO has so many properties, right? Let's say if the user info DTO has 100 properties, then why should I accept that particular object? And then I should filter it myself inside this send email method. Let's say if we see this particular send email method we have developed, if I'll go to the implementation, this is the method we have developed. It is so easy for us. We only need these three things. As we are receiving the required things right here straight away inside the send email method, we are just using this username here, then the user email here, and this is pretty straightforward. We do not need to paste these things right here inside this particular method. And why we should take the crap thing from other people? Tell those people who is actually calling this particular method, tell them to send proper data, whatever our method is asking for. Okay, so make sure whenever you are going to code a method next time, you will just follow this particular pattern and you will not follow this particular pattern. Okay, this is wrong, this is correct. Okay, so let me remove it. This is a very basic thing, but I used to do this particular mistake. So if there are some people just like me, then at least they can learn from it. Okay, cool. So right now I think we are all set, and right now let me go to the next service that we are going to write. Okay, so right now let's go ahead and write another service, okay, for our application. And right now we are going to write the service for our result calculation. So for the love calculator, we are going to write a service which is going to take the username and the crush name, and it is going to apply over a formula, and it will give you the result back. So what I did, I went over internet and I have searched for a few websites. You can also go and search for them, and I found a couple of formula to calculate to have the prediction. And I have picked one formula which I found a little easier to implement, and as it is a very simple site, we want to make things simple. So right now I'll tell you the formula that we'll be using. It is very embarrassing for me right now, because I never thought I'll be teaching something just like this to somebody in some day, and that is too on YouTube. I'm really sorry. But right now let's write the logic for our application. But right now let's see what formula I'm talking about right here. Okay, let's say we have a username, right? Let's say username is Sheldon, and the crush name, let's say the crush name is Penny. So what we need to do, we need to add these characters, right? So how many characters Sheldon has? Let's say 7 characters. Then the Penny has 5 characters. We need to take all these characters, the count of the characters 7 and 5, and we need to add them up. Then we need to apply it over a formula, right? Let's say 7 and 5 is 12. Then we need to apply this 12 over a formula, and the formula is flame. So actually it was flames, I think, but by mistake I have written flame. Whatever, we can take flame. So each of this character right here inside this word does have a meaning. Okay, understand this. You are going to implement it. It's not like we are having fun. Okay, so let's say right now we are going to have a meaning for each character right here. Let's say F for friend, L for love, A for affection, M for marriage, E for enemy. I think S was also there, S for sister. You can go over internet and can read about this formula. Cool. So right now what we need to do, we got 12 here, right? The count is 12. So username is 7 plus 5 is 12. So what you need to do, you will need to count till 12. Okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, again 11, 12. So you need to keep counting till it reaches the 12 number. Okay, let's say 5 and 5, 10, 11 and 12. Now our counting stopped at L. Okay, now the next, whatever the character is there after L, that is the answer. So here A is the answer. So A stands for affection. So our application will predict that, okay, nothing more here, it's just affection. Okay, whatever. But how you're going to implement it? Okay, so I think you guys had fun till now. So tell me right now how we are going to implement this thing. Using Java. Now this is a challenge for you. If you want, you don't see my implementation because I'm going to tell you how we are going to solve this particular problem, okay, right now. So if you want, you can pause this. So only thing you need to do is you need to add count of this particular string and this particular string. Let's say 7 and 5 is 12. Then you need to count it till 12, okay, and where it stops, the next one should be the answer, right? If you want to think, you can pause this video and can think, but right now I'm going to give you the solution. So if you want, you can pause it right now. Cool. So the way I came up for the solution, okay, so only I got this particular formula. So there was few more formulas, but I think, okay, it is a little easy to, implement right now. So the way we are going to implement it, guys, let's say this count we are getting 12. So I'll take, okay, this count is 12 and this count will be 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we'll do, we'll take this 12 and we will take this 5. And we will divide it. So what will be the remainder? So the remainder will be 5 into 2 will be 10. So the remainder will be 2, right? So 2 will be the remainder. So right now 1 and 2. So we got the place. So what we need to do, you need to keep counting the character, right? This is the first one. This is the second one. Okay. So L should be the character, right? So we have identified the character and the next one will be the answer. The A will be the answer. So the way we can simplify it more, so we got the remainder is 2, right? In Java, the way we calculate the indexes is from the 0th index. So we'll say 0, 1 and 2. So A should be the answer. F is my 0th index, L is my first index, A is my second index. So A should be the answer. So you need to get the character of the particular string. Okay. So this is how you can implement this particular formula. Right now, again, if you do not want to see the code, if you want to practice it by yourself first, then again you can pause this. But let me tell you the way I'm going to implement it. Let's say right now I am going to have a method. Okay, this is going to be my service method. My method name will be calculate love. I'll be taking a username and crush name because by using the username and crush name only, I'm going to calculate the result, right? And this particular method is going to return a string because I need to say them, okay? Friend or sister or love or affection, whatever. I need to return that particular string here. So let's say right now I am taking a char called RET because I want to store some data with this particular RET. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. Just see, okay? Don't get confused. Just see how I'm going to implement it. Simple. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the length of the username and the crush name. First of all, I will take the username plus the crush name, whatever the result come, let's say Penny and Sheldon, it will be Penny Sheldon, it will be a long string. Then I'm converting it to char array and then I'm taking what is the length of that particular array. That is going to be the count of that particular 2 string if I'm going to add them up. Okay. So I got the username and the crush name count, the total count of the username and crush name. Cool. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get the formula count, right? So right now I'm using flame here. So I'll say dot to char array and again dot length. Okay. So I'll get the length of this particular formula, right? This particular formula we are going to use, right? Flame or flames, whatever you are going to say that. Then I'm going to get the count right here. And once I get the count of this and that, I can do user and cross name, which is this one, modulus formula count, so that I'll get the remainder here. Alright, so whenever we are going to do a modulus operation between the user and the cross name count and the formula count, we are going to get a remainder here. So the remainder could be 0, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, or it could be 4, let's say. Okay, so whenever, let's say we are getting the remainder as 1, then what is going to be the answer? So here we will be getting 0 and 1. This is going to be our answer. Let's say the remainder is 3. Okay, so we will be start counting from here. 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the character that we are going to get. So basically what we need to do, we need to find a character from this particular formula based on the remainder. Okay, so if the remainder is, let's say, 2, then A is going to be the character that we are looking for. Okay, so to do that, we are just going to do a char at operation. We are going to say caret over this particular formula. So over this particular string, over this particular formula flame, we are going to look for a character here. Okay, and we are going to pass in this remainder. Whatever we are going to get, we are going to pass in just right here. Alright, so this caret method, whenever we are going to apply over this formula, it is going to give us a character just like F or L or A or M or E. We are going to get an individual character just like this. And once we get F, then we need to return friend here. Once we get L, we need to return love here. Once we get M, we need to return marriage here. That's what this method is going to return. So right now, let's see how we are going to achieve it. So what I'm going to do here, if remainder is equal to 0, it should return F. So I'll say return F, RET equal to F, RET is the char. Or else what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the caret of the reminders. So once I get the character set to RET, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use another method to calculate the result, right? So I do not want to have a lot of codes right here inside this particular method. So I have developed a new method here called what's between us. Okay, this particular method will just pass the character right here. Let's say if we pass the character F, this particular method will return friend. If we're going to pass the character M, this particular method will return marriage or something just like that. So after that, once we get the result, we can save it to DB. We can do all this operation right here. And at last, we are going to send, we are going to return this particular result, right? So if you're going to see this, what's between us, this particular method, this will be something just like this. Okay. So we'll be just taking that character. And if the character matches with F, then we are going to return the F char meaning. So what is this F char meaning, L char meaning? This is just a constant. This is some bunch of constants I've created. This is another class. So I have a bunch of constants right here. So what is going to happen if I get F here? So if calculation result, which is this one, if this equal to F, then return the F char meaning. So return friend here. If this is L, then return the L char meaning, return love here, right? So this is how we can simply solve this puzzle. It's a very simple thing. Right now also, if you want to implement it by yourself, you can do it, but right now I am going to code, right? So first of all, let me develop this particular method called calculate love. Okay, so I will write a service. So there will be two methods I'll be developing. One is calculate love and another is what's between us. So let me go ahead and do it. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I'll go to my Spring Love calculator right now. So I will go to the service and I'll create a new service right now. Let's say, so new interface, and I will say LC app service. Let me say something just like this. And inside this interface, let me create a method. Let's say calculate love. What kind of method this is? And inside this calculate love method, I'll take the string username, comma, string cross name. Okay, first of all, let me develop this particular method. So right now, let me write a class, okay, for this interface. So this name is LC app service, right? So let me write a class called LC app service impl, okay, and let me add a interface, this particular interface, LC app service, this particular interface. Let me add and let me do finish so that I'll get that particular method overridden. Okay, so right now let me save all these methods to get rid of this particular errors. Okay, cool. So the next thing that I'm going to do here, this particular service is going to be a service, right? So I'll say add service. So I'll annotate this particular component with add service annotation. The next thing that I'm going to do here, first I'm going to take the username. So I'll say username plus cross name, because I want to add them up and then I need the length of them. So first I'll convert them to char array and then I will get the length of it. So dot length. Okay, so right now I will get the length of this. So I'll say int user and cross name count, okay, or total count. I can say something just like this. Once I get the count of this, I can get the count of what? I can get the count of the formula. Okay, what is going to be my formula? Let me write public constant string LC app formula. Okay, and this is going to be, the formula name will be flame. So I'll say flame here. Okay, so how can I define the constant? I need to write final here. This is some different syntax I'm writing. Okay, public final string, okay, LC app formula flame. So this is going to be my LC app formula. So I can write it in all caps otherwise. So I can say LC underscore app underscore formula. Okay, there you go. So right now let me get the formula count. So let me say formula LC app formula dot to char array dot length. Okay, once I get the length, let me store it inside int. Let me say int, let's say formula count. Okay, once this is done, what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide username modulus formula count. Okay, so right now this is going to give me a remainder. Right now I'll take this remainder and I'll decide I'll do what. Let's say LC app formula dot caret. So over this I'll just run this rem, this remainder right here, and this is going to give me a character. Okay, so I'll say char result char or something I can say. Once I get this result char, what I can do, I can pass this result char over a method. Let's say what's between us. Okay, and right here inside this method I can pass this result char, and this particular method should give me a string. Let's say string result. Okay, so I didn't develop this particular method yet. So right now create a new method called what's between us. So what I can do, I can copy the method signature here. I'll go to the service class, which is my service, LC app service. So I'll do command V, and right here this particular method is going to take a char. So I'll say char calculation result or something. Okay, and this particular method should return a string. Okay, so we will pass the character here, and whatever the character we pass here, so let's say we are passing F, it is going to return friend. We are passing M, it is going to return marriage, right? So it is going to be very simple. So let me save this and let me go to the service impl, and let me do first override the method add on implemented method. Let me click this link. So it will override this particular method, and right here I can do what? I can basically create a constant new class. Let's say I'll say love calculator constants, and I'll do finish. I can create a bunch of constants right here. So let me copy all these things from my slide, all the constants that I have created, command C, and let me put it right here, command V. Okay, so I have a bunch of constants right now, and right now here inside the LC app service impl, what I can do, I can write if this calculation result, I'll say calculation result equals if this equals f, okay, the character f, then I should return, let me say return love calculator constants dot fchar meaning. Okay, just like that you can keep checking this. Let's say command C, command V, and then I'll say lchar meaning, return the lchar meaning, right? So lchar meaning will be love, right? Just like that you can keep checking and you can keep returning this. So let me quickly do all these things. Let me quickly write all this else if right here. Cool. So right now I'm done developing this what's between us method. You can have a look right now. So it is pretty simple. So basically this what's between us, we are basically calling this particular method right here. Okay, I mean inside this particular method, calculate love method, and inside this what's between us method we are basically sending the character, right? We are basically finding the character from the LCR formula. If I go here, the LCR formula is flame. We are basically going to return L or F or A or M or E. And once we get that right here inside the what's between us method, what we are going to do, we are going to just keep checking. If this calculation result is F, then we will be return this particular character meaning, then this particular character meaning, just like that we'll be keep checking, and we are just setting it with the result. Okay, with this result variable we are setting it whenever this if clause executed, and at last we are just going to return this particular result right here. So this what's between us method is going to be pretty simple, and once we get the result here, okay, so what we can do, we can just return the result here, and there we go, right? So we are done. Okay, calculate love, this should return a string back. I'm sorry, this should return a string. Let me change the interface also. This should return a string. Okay, cool. So right now I think we are done. So right now whenever we'll be calling this particular method, we will be returning a string back. Okay, so right now we have successfully created this particular method called calculate love, and we are going to use this service inside our controller. So we have written this method inside the LC app service IMPL. This is a service class, so that's why I'm annotating with add service. So right now let me go to my LC app controller. First of all, let me start my server, so that I'll ask you that where I'm going to utilize this particular method, and as per your answer I am going to implement it. First of all, let me tell you that before I am going to write something, I need to make you understand that, okay, this is where I'm going to call this. Okay, so you are going to tell me right now where I'm basically going to call this particular method called calculate love. I hope you already guessed it. Let my server get started first. Okay, started. So right now in this particular page is handled by LC app controller. We all know it is inside this particular controller, and right now I'm seeing the home page. But once I let's say Abhilash say something, check this box, and I'll say calculate. Inside this particular page I need to find this by using the calculate love method. So I'll go to this last process home page, this particular URL. If I'll go to my LC app controller, this particular URL is handled by this particular method. So here I'll call the calculate love method just right here. So to call the calculate love method, I will be needing the object of LC app something, LC app service or something. I can say LC app service. Let me say LC app service only, so that we won't be confused. LC app service. Okay, let me say private, and let me auto add it, so that I'll be get the variable. I will be get this variable injected with the object. So I'll say add auto add. Okay, and once I get the object injected with LC app service, I am going to utilize this LC app services right here. not here. I'm sorry. So I will be, calling the LCApp service dot calculate love, and I'll pass the username. From where I'll be getting the username, user info DTO. So user info DTO dot get username, and again user info DTO dot get cross name. Okay, there you go. This particular service is going to return me a string back, string result, I'll say. Okay, there you go. And once I get the result, what happened? Rename result. So I have another result here. Binding result I have. Let's say app result. So once I get this app result, I'm going to send this app result to this result page. So I can actually create a model right here. All right, so right now I want to give you an assignment. So before you watch it further, so let's complete this assignment here. Okay, and what is going to be the assignment? It's going to be pretty simple. So right here, you are finding your application result, your app result. Okay, and this is the result that you need to show in your JSP page, correct? So basically what you need to do, so here you are making a service call. LCApp service dot calculate love, you are making a service call here, getting the app result right here. So basically you need to add a model just right here. Okay, just create a model object right now. So write model inside the show result page, inside the parenthesis of this, and then once you get this app result, you just write a line here, model, okay, dot add attribute, and then add this app result in your model attribute. So you can say, just give it a variable name, just like a result. And then you just pass the app result, this particular, variable where you capture your result. So I'll say app, what is this? App result, right? So app result. Okay. And just send this, model to result page, and once this model is available inside the result page, what you need to do, you need to fetch it, right? So just go ahead and fetch your model attribute right here inside your result.jsp. So this is your result.jsp, and right here, instead of hard coding this friend here, you just get it from the model, just like you can write result here, whatever the attribute that you sent from your controller. Okay, so instead of writing friend, you just write this one and just display dynamic value just right here. Just try out different username and the cross name combination, and just try out this particular application, and this result should display different values, just like love, just like affection, just like enemy, just like that. Okay, a friend, or you'll just get values fetched by your service by making use of the formula that we have created for the result calculation. So go ahead and try this out, and once you are done, resume this particular video, because right now I am going to follow a different approach here. So go ahead and try this out, then resume this particular video. Alright, so hopefully you have tried practicing and the things are working for you. So you have created a model object and you have transferred this app result by including the app result inside this model and sending this model to the result page, and then pasting the model attribute inside this result page as well. But the way I am going to implement it right now is going to be a little bit different. Okay, let me tell you how. Alright, so let me undo all these marks. Well, right now it's clean. Okay. So now let me tell you that how I'm going to implement it. Right now, going ahead in this tutorial, I'll be trying different methods and you will be seeing a lot of errors, and that's why I have told you to do it first by using a simple method, just by adding this particular result to your model attribute and sending it anyway to the result page. But right now I'm going to tell you a different approach. Okay, basically what I'm going to do, previously you have written model and model here. Okay, so right now I'm not going to write this model here. Okay, I'll not be using this model. Instead, what I'm going to do, I am going to include this app result to this user info DTO. Okay, so what if I'm going to create a new variable inside the user info DTO class to store the app result? Okay, so I am going to try out a different method here to send this app result to result page. Instead of creating a new model here, I am going to transfer this app result with this user info DTO. Okay, so let me show you that approach, and let me tell you that I am going to get a lot of errors right now, and the errors basically makes us a better developer. The more error that we are going to face, more better developer we will be. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to try out a new approach here, and I'm going to try out this approach because I want to see a new scenario here. So hopefully you are excited, and right now just sit back, relax, don't worry, just watch my screen, what I'm trying to do, what type of errors that I'm getting, and how actually I am solving those errors. So you don't need to do anything right now. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It should be enjoy the errors that I'll be getting. So once I get this app result, I'm going to send this app result to this result page. So I can actually create a model right here. So I already have a user info DTO class, right? So I can add this, I can introduce a new variable there to store this particular result, right? So what I can do, I can go to my user info DTO, and right here inside my user info DTO, I will create another variable, let's say private string, and I'll say result. Okay, and let me hit command 1 to generate the getter and setter. So after the term and condition, let me generate the getter and setter. So if I'll go here, so I have get result and set result with this object right now, user info DTO. So what I'm going to do right now, let me save this first. I'll go to the LC app controller. So right now I'm sending the model attribute right here, right? I'm creating the user info DTO object. Here what I'm going to do, I'm going to say user info DTO dot set and set result app result. There you go. So right now I'll go to this particular page. Let me go here and let me open this particular page, and right here username and crossname are friend. Instead of saying this, I am going to fetch the value from this particular DTO called user info DTO. So I'll say dot result. Okay, command S to save. Right now let me test my application, so hopefully things will work fine. So is it completed? Reloading completed. It is saying, let's say Abhilash Java calculate. Oops, what happened? Expected session attribute user info. Okay, this is okay. Right now I have to restart my server because the user info I have added to the session and my server has already started, so it is not in the memory. So let me start the server and try again. So my session attribute was not in the memory, so expected session attribute user info. Okay, so let's hope for the best, and let me wait till my server reload the changes. Let me go to the root URL again, hit enter. Let's say I'll type something here, check this box, calculate. I should work. Come on, man. What? Expected session attribute. Oh, I got it. Why you are getting HTTP session required exception? The mistake we did is what? If I'll go to LC app controller, I told you during the session attribute tutorial, right? So right now this user info, we are persisting with the session attributes, right? If we are adding this user info, the model attribute to session attribute, then we should not use add model attribute. We can use add model attribute, but the problem is Spring is not going to create this particular object by itself. It is going to expect that the user should create the instance by themselves, right? So what we can do, we can rewrite this particular thing. We can write it manually. So what I'm going to do here, I will create a model object. So I'll say comma here, and I'll say model, okay. And right now inside this model, I'll say model dot r attribute. So this is going to be my attribute name, command C, command V. And what is my attribute value? The user info DTO, right? So I can say new user info DTO, because right here the Spring is going to do new user info DTO, right? But as the model attribute is not going to work, what I'm going to do here, I am going to create the object here manually. But what happened here? System.out, we are logging something user info DTO, and here also okay. So user info DTO, what I can do, I have just deleted that particular instance, so I can copy this, okay, command X I can do, and I can do command V. I can show user info DTO equal to new user info DTO, and then I can copy this one and I can place this object right here. Now this error will go away, because if I will delete that instant, I am already using the user info DTO here and here, so I just cannot directly create an object just right here, okay, because I will be needing this particular instance. Cool. So right now let me check whether the things are working fine or not. So I'll go back to my application, and so let me say something here, save, calculate. Nope, it didn't work. Okay, so we are still getting an error, illegal state exception. So binding result argument is expected to be declared immediately after the model attribute, the request body or the request part of the arguments. Okay, this line makes sense, after the request body or at request part of the arguments. Cool. So I have an idea right now, just hit and trial. It's a very good scenario. Let me go to the LC app controller right now. So the problem here is this binding result should be there. Oh, I have done a mistake here. Okay, if you see here, what this process homepage is supposed to do. Okay, if I'm going to see this URL, whatever the username and whatever the cross name, whatever the things that I'm getting, the Spring should inject all these things to my user info DTO object, isn't it? So why I am actually trying to create a new object here? Why I'm creating a new object here? I should not be creating a new object. So what I need to do, I do not need to create the object right here manually. I can take this right from here and I can place it before the binding result. Okay, this will do what? Spring will create the user info DTO instance, and also it is going to inject all the request param that I'm getting to this particular user info DTO, right? So inside the query string, if you see, I have all this key value pair, right? So it is going to get this particular value and automatically inject it to this particular DTO, right? Because the parameter names are same, username, cross name, and all these things, right? So hopefully this particular thing will work, because I do not need to create the user info DTO object manually here. Let Spring create it. So right now let me do command S, okay, and let me stop my server, and let me restart my server again, and let me check whether the things work. This is a pretty nice scenario, isn't it? We cannot use that model attribute here because we are adding that particular attribute to the session. Okay, the second thing is, if we are not writing at model attribute, then this binding result should come right after the model attribute, right? But if we do not have the at model attribute right here, because we are using at session attribute also, then how can we handle this particular scenario, right? I hope the things will work this time. So let me hit the URL. Okay, I got this page. Let me write something here, and let me check this box, calculate. Boom, There you go, man. So here I'm getting a different result, which is love. That's really nice. So let me test this thing. Let's say if I'm saying let's say Sheldon and Penny, okay, it should give me affection. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so right now our formula works right here. Right now I can send this result to my email. This particular thing will not work because whatever the result we are getting, affection, we need to exactly send this particular result through the email. But I remember inside the email controller where I'm sending the result here, I'm hard coding it, right? So what I need to do, I need to get this result from the user info DTO, right? So I can say user info DTO dot get result. Okay. So right now let me test this application again. So let me stop the server and let me start it again, and hopefully everything will work this time. So the more issue we are going to face, the more better developer we will be. It's not just like, typing out the code right here and everything will work in one shot. That will never be the case whenever we are going to work in a real-time project. Hopefully you guys understand this, and I'm sorry I have taken a little more time here, but let me do it for the final time. Let me say here Sheldon again and Penny. Okay, and let me check this box. Calculate is saying affection. Let me send it to email and let me check whether it is sending the correct result to the email or not. So I'll say Selenium Express @gmail.com. Okay, so I'll say send here. Let me see whether my email is sending perfectly or I'm getting an error. Cool, it is saying sent to gmail.com. Let me wait till I get the email from my application. So how long I need to wait? Okay, so am I going to get the email? Yes, and there you go. Hi Sheldon, the result predicted by the LC app is affection. It's pretty nice, isn't it? So hopefully our things are working fine right now, and whatever we want to do, the goal is successful, right? We are done writing the service for our application. Okay, so guys, we are done coding, but there is a bad news. The bad news is I've just tested my application and the validation is not working. So we still need to figure it out, how to fix this. Okay, because I'll tell you what I'm trying to say. See, if I'm giving calculate here, it's straight away going to the next page, right? But we have validation check here, right? Inside our LC app controller. If you see here, I have removed the add model attribute, but we still have a add valid. So I'm not sure, because add valid, we are placing it before the model attribute, and immediately after that we are writing binding result and result. But here we are violating our concept itself, right? So this is a very good situation, because I cannot write add model attribute right here, because I am adding this user info DTO to the session. Okay, so how can we deal with this particular scenario? Because right now our validation is not working. If I'm putting the add valid annotation before the model, and if I'm putting the binding result right here. Okay guys, so I did a little bit of research and I found the solution of our problem. So right now the problem that we are facing is, if the user is not entering anything or not ticking this box, if he's hitting the calculate button directly, he is going to the next page and our validation is not getting triggered, right? So if we go to the controller for this particular page, that is the LC app controller, and here only we made the changes. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is we do not need to put this valid over here before the model, because this is not the model attribute. So the valid annotation or add valid annotation used to trigger the validation for a particular form. So right now my form home page is using a DTO called user info DTO. This particular form that we are seeing inside the home page, which is this one, the DTO it is using is this one, right? So we want to validate the DTO, which is called the user info DTO, because this is going to carry our form data. So we need to validate this particular form. So I'm going to put the add valid annotation right here before the DTO. Okay, so let me do command S. Let me wait till my server reload all my changes, and then I'll show you what is the next thing that we are going to do. Alright, so right now as you can see, the reloading has been completed. So right now I'll again go to the home page. Right now again I will leave everything blank and I'll hit the calculate button, and let's see if my validation is getting triggered. And there we go. You can see two things here. First thing is all the validation that we have for username, cross name, term and condition, all this validation get triggered, and we are not able to move to the next page. Okay, so you can see if I open the user info DTO, you can see for our username we have two different validation check, and for the cross name we have also two different validation check, and for term and condition also we have a validation check. So you can see 1 2 3 4 5 validation has been triggered, and all these validations are just right here in the page, and we are seeing the same page. If I'm hitting the calculate, I'm not going to the next page, which is confirming that my flow is working fine. Right now this add valid annotation validated this particular form, and all the errors right now my form got, it is getting reported to this particular binding result, and from this result this result has errors. That's why it is coming to the if clause and returning the home page. That's why we are not able to go to the next page. Okay, but the problem that we have right now is we are not seeing the error messages right here on our screen. If you remember, if I go to this home page, if I go to this resources, not the resources, src main web app webinf view, and if I go to the home page, you can see here we have form errors for every field, and it is binded with the path, which is particularly the DTO field, and it should have reported all these errors that we are getting. Let's say agree to user app, or the size must be between 3 and 15. All these things should be reported to our JSP page, and we should be able to see those errors right here. But why we are not able to see it right now? Okay, so guys, first of all, let me do a work. So if I'm going to LC app controller, and if I'm going to put a breakpoint here in the line number 38, and if I'm going to start my server in debug mode, so right now my server has started in debug mode. So what I can do, I can go to the home page and I can hit the calculate button and see if my flow stops at the debug point. So let me hit the yes button. So you can see right now my flow is here. But right now, if you remember, we have just clicked the calculate button and we have not filled all these details, isn't it? So if I'll go to the LC app controller, if I put my cursor here in the result, you can see, so we have this field called errors, and this particular variable or this particular object is basically carrying all our errors. You can see there are right now 1 2 3 4 5 errors, right? All these five errors you can see right here: user info DTO field, cross name, rejected value. Then you can see for all the errors that we have, it is getting reported right here. So if you see this particular object, this is a list object and it is carrying few objects, and these all are the errors object, right? So the 0th index of this particular list is carrying cross name cannot be blank because we have left the cross name blank, right? And just like that, the first index right here, it is carrying another error, agree to use our app, which is the checkbox one, right? And similarly, if you see the second one, it contains another error which say it should be between this to this character. So these all are the errors contained by this particular object called errors object, right? So right now the problem what I think is this particular errors object is not going to the home page. So if it should have go to the home page, then inside the home page what we have the form errors. and this particular thing would have retrieved all the errors, and that would have mapped to this particular thing, so that we would have seen this particular errors right here inside the page. But right now, as you can see, whenever we are hitting the calculate button, we are not seeing anything just right here in this particular page. And the reason, what I believe, is we are not using model attribute. So let me resume this particular program. So let me resume it. Okay, so as we are not using model attribute, we are just simply creating the model object, and again we are adding this object to the model by ourselves. Okay, so as we are doing it by ourselves, Spring is not taking the control, and it is not actually sending this particular error object directly to this particular home page. So that particular errors object, whatever I have just shown you, is not available here, right here inside this particular page, and that's why we are not able to see all these errors in our JSP page. So what we need to do right now, we can add it manually, right? So I just got a hack here. So what you can do, you can add something to the model object right here manually. So as we are not using add model attribute, so if you would have used add model attribute, those things would have sent by the Spring to the home page. But as we are doing it manually, as we are adding the object manually right here without using the add model attribute, that's why Spring is saying, okay, if you want to take control, then do everything by yourself. I will not send those necessary thing to this home page. So you need to add it manually. So what I'll do here with this model object, I will send some more data to this home page, right? So let me do that. So I can say model.add attribute, and right here what I can do, I can give a key value pair. So what I can do, first of all, for the value, I'm going to copy this result, which is my binding result property. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right here. And what is going to be my key name? So my key name will be, I can say binding result. This is the interface, and this particular interface has a field here. So I can choose this one, model key prefix, and the prefix should be, I want to concatenate with my model attribute. So my model attribute name is user info, right? So I can copy this user info and I can paste it right here. So this is going to be the key, and the result, which is my binding result variable, this should be my value. So this is the thing that I want to send to my home page, and after that the JSP should retrieve the necessary error information from the page itself. So right now let me stop the server and let me go to the Spring Perceptives and let me start my server again, and let me check whether the things are working fine. So right now my server has been started, so I can go to the home page, and right now let me go to the root URL and let me hit enter, and right now let me hit the calculate button without filling in any data, and as you can see, there you go, we have all our error messages popped off right now. So I have not done anything right now. I have just did what I had make sure that I had my add valid annotation before my DTO, so that it could validate this particular DTO and its field. And the next thing that I made sure, I'm going to add this thing to my model attribute, and there you go, nothing else you need to do. So I hope you understand right now, if we do not have add model attribute, if we are not using add model attribute, we are using session attribute right here, and in that case how you are going to handle the form validation using the Hibernate validator. You can create a feedback form, guys. Let's say right now, if you see in our application, create a new page for feedback. So the reason why I want to give you this assignment, if you create a feedback form, then what you need to do, let the user enter his email ID, his email address, the feedback about our application, and the moment he hits send, okay, so you need to basically send an email to the user that, hey, feedback received, but hold on. You need to also send yourself a message, okay, this is what the feedback the user X has given, okay. So the moment the user is going to submit the feedback form, you will collect all the information from the user. Let's say his email ID, what he want to give the feedback about, and what is his feedback, what is his mobile number, and all these things, right? You can collect that from the user. And once he hit the submit button, just send him a message that, okay, thank you very much for your feedback. We will be following that up, right? And also, as an admin, you should also get a message, right? That, hey, the user X has given you this particular feedback, okay? And the admin also should get an email. So you can implement this particular thing, right? So when the user clicks submit, 2 emails should trigger, okay? So this is another assignment for you guys, creating a feedback form and sending emails to both the user and the admin. Pretty simple, guys. Just think what you need to do, okay? Then it will be done. Okay. Okay, so the next thing, okay, there is one more scenario when our application is going to fail. Basically, this is a different topic and I need to speak about this particular topic, but I'm running out of time. But let me give you this as an assignment. If you can do it, that is fine. If you cannot do it, then I'm going to do it for you guys. So first of all, whenever you are not going to solve something, right? If you're facing any problem, ask me, right? Ask me at Selenium Express support group, or put this thing in the website forum, or you can send me an email. If I'm not receiving, keep pinging me. I'm going to give you the response back, man. But sometime I just have a lot of work to do and I cannot see those emails. That is the problem. Okay, so the next problem is let's say right now we are using session, guys. Inside our website we have implemented session, right? So let's say if the user is going to turn off the cookies, if the user is not going to allow cookies, then what is going to happen? Just see here. If I'm going to go to settings right here, and right here, I am going to go to cookies and other site data. And if I'm going to block all cookies, then what is going to happen? Our session is not going to work, right? If our session is not going to work, then what is going to happen? Can I use this website right now? If I hit this URL, okay, I got the home page. Let's say I'm entering something here, calculate. Okay, right now let me hit this link. But when you come to the send email page right here, you cannot see the username right here. Okay, so right now we come to the process home page, and right now if I click the send result to email, then this should be my username, right? I should get this right here. But we have used the session attribute or HTTP session to capture our data, right? But we are not getting it because I have turned off the cookies right here. I'm not allowing the cookies here, right? So I have blocked all the cookies. That's why my application is not behaving correctly. So you can see here, I'm not getting the username. And even if, let's say if I'm sending something right here at gmail.com, actually I have not added any validation to this. So if you want, you can add the validation to to that to this also, to this particular field also. Okay, let me give a correct email. Let's say seleniumexpress@gmail.com, send. So here you can see we are getting a bad request. Right now here it is saying missing session attribute user info from the user info DTO. So right now we are getting an exception whenever we are coming to /process email. Inside this /process email handler method, if I'll go to my code, if I will go to the email controller right here, I am trying to fetch the user info, this particular session attribute, and right now this Spring MVC is complaining, and it is telling us that, okay, the session attribute doesn't even exist. Okay, missing the session attribute because we have turned off the session feature. So our session object is never getting created and getting stored inside the session. So whenever we are trying to access it, there is no object there. So we are getting a missing session attribute problem here. Our application right now throwing error, right? So it is not a good thing. So how you're basically going to handle this kind of request whenever the user will not allow the cookie, right? So this is also a very good scenario to face, and research yourself. First of all, whatever the research you have done, you can send me that to seleniumexpress@gmail.com. If the cookies are disabled, how you are going to handle that kind of scenario and how you can make your application work properly. You can send me your research, and obviously I'm going to give you the solution in the next video. Okay. I just want to give you a hint. Okay, if you are going to open this inside a new incognito window, and if you are going to access the localhost 8080 in our application name. So right now, before I enter something, you can see in the developer tool there will not be any cookies created for our application. See, there is no JSessionID, there is no value right here. So right now, as we have turned off the cookies, our browser is not allowing to store cookies. So you can see there is no cookies created right here. And if I'm entering any email ID also, if I'll do send, I have no cookie here, I have no JSession ID here. So that's why this particular problem came. Okay, so I'll give you two solutions. Okay, try to implement it if you want. Take it as an assignment. So the first solution will be, if there is no cookie available, right? Let's say if you are using HttpSession to implement the cookies in your Spring MVC project. Okay, let's forget about session attribute for a moment. I'm going to talk about it later. So right now, let's think that, if the user has turned off cookies from his browser, and if you guys are using HttpSession to create cookies and get cookies and set cookies, the HttpSession will return you null whenever there is no session object there inside the session scope. You can have a condition check. If you are getting null whenever you are trying to access the session attribute, then you can send the user or redirect the user to some kind of different page and can ask him that, hey, turn on the cookies to use our application. If you do not turn on the cookies, then you cannot use our application. Our application need cookies to be enabled, to perform better. So the user need to enable cookies. So let user know about it. If by mistake he has blocked the cookies, then try to get the session attribute. And whenever you're getting the session attribute, if there is a null object getting returned, let them know that, hey, your cookies are not enabled, so we cannot process your request. And there is another thing, guys, that is called a encode URL. Okay. So what basically happens is, right now, I can tell you this thing also. Let's say if the cookies are not enabled, so what you can do, you can encode the URL. So if you can encode the URL, if the user has disabled the cookies, Spring MVC will do what? It will add the JSession ID inside the URL itself. Only if the cookies are disabled, the JSession ID will be automatically attached to the URL. And from there, the application will track the session, right? Maybe it is too much for now, but research about encode URL, how you can encode an URL, and what is the benefit of encoding an URL. Alright, so let me very quickly guide you for 1 minute so that you guys will know that what to search, what to research, and what to code. Okay, so basically we are talking about URL encoding here, and basically we are talking about the URL rewriting, and our intention here is that the JSession ID will appear right here inside the URL when the cookies are blocked, right? So as you can see right now, if I'll go to the settings, and if I'll go to the cookies, where are cookies? Okay, you can see my cookies are blocked because I have blocked all the cookies. So right now, if I'll go to my home page, and right now, if I'll put in a username and a crush name, and if I'm going to hit calculate, no problem, affection. But whenever I click here I should able to see my name here, and I am not seeing that because there is no JSession ID available, there is no cookies available, there is no cookies getting created by the Java automatically. So to see that, if we'll go to developer tool, and if we'll go to application, you can see there is no cookies created. So how can we track the name if the cookies are disabled? just like this. Okay, the cookies are disabled by the users, so there will be no JSessionID will be created, there will be no cookies will be created. So how we are going to track the user information? So there is a way around. As I told you, you just need to go to your STS. Well, this is a different kind of environments. You can see right now it's my love calculator application, the one that we're working with. These are the video that I'm working on right now on Spring JDBC, so do not look into that. You will get a new course soon. Okay, so let's come back here to your love calculator application. So right now, if I will go to, let's say if I will go to your result page, okay, because in the result page we have a link here. As you can see, we have a link here, isn't it? So instead of writing the URL just like this, I am going to use a JSTL feature called c:\URL. So basically the c:\URL will give us a lot of benefits. So if I'll go to a new incognito window, and if I'm going to search for JSTL c:\URL, let me go to the first link. I just need to copy the tag, the tag leaf just right here. To activate the JSTL in my code, I need to copy the tag leaf. So let me go to my STS, and right here I'm going to paste the tag lib here for JSTL core. Right, there you go, JSTL core, prefix is C. So right now, instead of using my URL just like this, let me zoom it a little so that you guys can see. And let me minimize this. So now what we are going to do, we are going to make use of JSTL c:\URL. So basically, let me comment this line. Okay, right now let's go ahead and rewrite this particular link. Only the difference is going to be here we are, providing our link, which is /send email directly inside the href. But right now we are not going to hard code our link. Rather, we are going to use c:\URL. So let me show you how. So basically we are going to create a link. So I'll say A, okay. And then we are going to use href as usual. And right here inside this, we are going to write c:, and hit control space, and you can see c:\URL. Let me type it in, c:\URL. This is the one we need to use. And right here, basically, let me reformat something. Let me remove the end tag, and let me give a slash just right here to end it. And let me wrap it off with a invited quote. Right now, let me put in the value. Let me write value here equal to, and what is my URL? My URL was /spring love calculator /send email. So let me copy this and let me paste it right here. Okay, and there you go, you are done. Okay, so basically what is the benefit it is going to make here? What is the difference this particular c:\URL is going to make here? The first thing, guys, whenever you are using the c:\URL, you do not need to specify your root context name. In our case, it is /spring love calculator. So we do not need to provide this. Let me delete this. Okay, so right now you can see our URL is looking pretty good right here. So previously, usually we are providing our root context name, and then we are providing our URL name, in our case that is /send email. But right here, this URL looks pretty good. The next thing, guys, whenever you are writing c:\URL, this is going to do the URL encoding or URL rewriting. Okay, let me show you how. Let me do Command S, and let me give a link name right here. Let me copy this and let me paste it right here. This is going to be my link name, and this time let me stop my server and let me restart it, and you are going to see how the c:\URL right now is going to encode our URL, and whenever the cookies are blocked, it is going to provide us a JSessionID in the URL itself. So let me go to my Google Chrome. Okay, so let me go to my root URL. Just want to show you that my cookies are blocked. Let me go to home page, and let me say Avilash. Crush name, let me say something. I'll hit this box, calculate. Well, my link is also appearing. My c:\URL is working like a charm. Let me click here. And as you can see, hi Avilash, which is my username. And you can see something very, very cute here. This is cute, isn't it? So my cookies are blocked. So during the every request right now, the JSessionID is appeared with my URL, right? You can see right now, you can see in the cookie section, there is no cookies here. That's why the JSessionID is attached with my URL. And this is going to help us right now, to track the user preferences or to track the user session. If and only if the cookies are blocked, the JSessionID is going to appear right here. But only the thing that you need to careful is you need to track the JSessionID in every pages, right? So make sure whenever you have a URL in your application, you should be encoding it by using the C:URL. So that with all of your links, with all of your URL, your JSessionID will be appear right here with the URL so that your application can track the user session. So go ahead and research more about JSessionID in the URL and research about encoding URL and also research about encode URL method. There is a method called encode URL. Research about them and let me know if you have any doubt. And also one thing I want to prove before I wrap up this little section, I want to show you one thing. Let me allow all my cookies. Okay, right now let me go to my application, and right now you will see that once I started allowing cookies, if I'll go to the root page, you'll see some magic. Okay, my cookies are allowed right now. I'll say Avilash, cross name is, let's say, something, and I am going to hit this box, calculate, and you can see send result to your email. And right now it's saying hi Avilash, but there is no JSessionID present here, which means that only when the cookies are blocked, the JSessionID will appear here on your URL, okay, because you have written C:URL, which is going to help us to encode our URL. Okay, so go ahead and research more about encoding URL and share me your information. Share your information on the comment section. Share your information in my Selenium Express community, Selenium Express -support, or in my website forum. Let people know about your research, and obviously you are going to help people. Okay, so this is the task that I want to give you right now. Okay, so if you can do encode URL, you will get the JSessionID in the URL itself when the cookies are disabled, and you can the application will automatically track the JSessionID from the URL, and you can able to track the user session if you follow that. So do some research how you're going to handle the cookies if the cookies are disabled. I have given you two ways, right? Check if it is null, send the user to a different page and tell them, hey, enable your cookies, or you can do encode URL so that you will get the JSessionID in the URL itself, and from there you can track the user session. So cool. So that is your assignment, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll come back with some new concept. Probably we are going to get started with the Spring JDBC from the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care, happy coding. So do not forget to raise your questions. I know it is a very long session for you guys, and for me, I'm shooting from last 8-9 hours, and I'm also tired and I need to take rest. So put all your questions right there in the comment section. I'm going to give you the answer. Also, you can ask me questions on my Instagram account, Selenium_Express. Follow me on Instagram also if you want, and also raise your questions inside the Selenium Express support Facebook group. So I'll see you in the next video. Okay, and don't forget to ask me your doubts, okay, because I know you might have a lot of doubts by now. So yeah, take care, bye bye, happy coding, and take care of your health. Okay, do not go outside, stay at home and do practice, then do your office work, then do practice. Bye bye.